Folks, welcome into sportsbookreview.com. Saturday afternoon NFL football action, the divisional round. A couple bangers here on the card for us today. A little bit later tonight, those Ravens and Buffalo Bills. But right off the top, the Los Angeles Rams travel to Lambeau to take on the Green Bay Packers. And I am so happy to be here and break these games down. A 1-hour show designed to make you a better NFL gambler. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. We're sportsbookreview.com. And it's time, Kyle.
It's time. And you know what? For the first time this year, I can say with 100 precision accuracy, it's only 12:30 and I don't care because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Cheers to you all. Thank you guys for joining us today. I love the divisional round of the playoffs. I'm in great spirits today. Yeah. I can see Donnie's happy. Today is going to be a lot of fun.
Me too. Good stuff here. Got a couple bets to fire away on now. As we like to do, usually, Kyle, we'll come on this show on an NFL day of a game show and have to break down 10, 15 games, speed through everything. Not so much, because the good thing that we have now is a Saturday slate of 2 games. You say, well, whoa, 4 games, right? You got 2 games tomorrow. We will be back again tomorrow, 1 hour ahead of game times. What's tomorrow? I believe, Kyle, a 2:30 start for us, somewhere in that range. But we're going to do it Saturday and Sunday. Have a lot of fun doing this. Thank you guys for joining us today, because we're going to cover it all. We're going to go over sides, totals, DFS matchups, as well as a lot of prop bets. And I got a lot circled for the game tonight between the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. But first things first here, Kyle, right? 79,300 people have subscribed to our YouTube channel. Every single day it goes up. I can't wait until we cross over 100,000 subscribers here. If you haven't done so yet, if you're watching on the replay or watching live now, hit that notification button as well as the subscribe button. Every time we go live with NFL content, college basketball content, NCAA football content, fight content, soccer content, Major League Baseball on the horizon content, and also the NBA, you'll be able to get it live and come in and say hello. Nut Flush is in here. Case is in here. Eric's in here. Watch Me's here. Jose, Akbar, Gerald, welcome in. Let's have some fun and get after it. The first game of the day, Kyle, which I'm watching already, some of the previews here. The big news, Cooper Kupp inactive.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a big, let's not, there's no other way to slice it. That's a big injury for the Rams. You know, you already have a quarterback dealing with a thumb issue. Hard to trust him anyways. And that's, you know, Cooper Kupp is his security blanket. It is a big loss for this game. I didn't project him to have a huge game anyway, so it doesn't change a lot of how I view this game going, because I don't think that's the key for the Rams in this game. The running game and, of course, that defense, which we've talked about ad nauseum all week, is going to be the key. But look, you know, anything that makes the quarterback uncomfortable is good for the other team. So I think it's a nice little spot for Green Bay, and you got to be feeling good if you're a Packers fan.
If we take a look and get the breakdown started of this game here, Kyle, between the Rams and the Green Bay Packers, about a 60% split here on tickets, those 60% going towards the Green Bay Packers. This line, as we saw, opened up at 7 during the week. And if you follow me on Twitter at RightSide VP, or certainly at Kyle at DFS Bachelor, you're going to see us comment week to week and day to day on some things. And when I was looking at this line, Kyle, I got to say, all week long, I didn't understand the 6.5. Now they're completely gone because Kupp is out of the game. And that's a big number, because 7s turn into what? In order to cash a ticket, you're probably going to have to win by double digits now, as opposed to the old 24-17, let me pack it away and get a victory. 7s are across the board. There are no 6.5s left out here. The over-under, which opened up at 46.5, now sitting at 45. Now, there aren't any weather concerns that we usually would worry about here as we take a look at, you know, mid-January as we head into the playoffs. Snowy conditions, rainy conditions, sleeting conditions, cold and windy. Not really the case. About 35 degrees at kickoff, Kyle, under 10 miles an hour. You would take that each and every time you hear that if you are the Los Angeles Rams. But we do know also coming into this game, the quarterback position is the utmost importance. It's a reason why during my breakdown as we go back and forth, I just can't look at the Rams. You have Jared Goff with 3 screws in his thumb, who already looked last week to begin with. And even when he was healthy this year, looked like he was trending in the wrong direction. Now asked to go on the road to Lambeau and pull out a victory now without his top option at wide receiver. Now, as we sit back and say, okay, let's formulate this, because we all know, regardless of, we've seen the New Orleans Saints win without Michael Thomas, right? We've seen the Atlanta Falcons be competent without Julio Jones. It's not always the case that you absolutely need to have your best wide receiver or you have no shot, because if there's one position that you can afford probably to lose a decent football player is, it's probably wide receiver. They still have some decent wide receivers on the outside, still have a good tight end, a dominant presence of an offensive line going against Green Bay, and an electric running back who's young, has the shakes, and he shows like, hey, yo, I can get the ball 30 times here and make a big impact like he had last week versus the Seattle Seahawks. Is that enough for you, Kyle, as a pathway to victory or a pathway to covering for those Rams?
I got to tell you, it is. My position on this game has not changed. I think a lot of people are forgetting. We've talked about Green Bay throughout the year, and look, there's no doubt a terrific year by Aaron Rodgers. That offensive line was fantastic. That secondary really played well, allowed the third fewest fantasy points to opposing wide receivers, really stepped up. But the fact of the matter is, I still think they're a soft team, and when they are posed with a physical challenge, we might be seeing a lot of that Aaron Rodgers pouty face today. And when you just look at it, look at just the team defense overall. When you look at points expected from your secondary, so expected points contributed by your passing defense, the LA Rams #1 in the league at over 60 points for the entire season. They're one of only 3 teams with a positive number. Green Bay's in the top 10. They're here at -61. So 120-point swing when you go throughout the season. The Rams are also #1 in expected points provided by your rushing defense, where Green Bay is all the way back in the bottom 9 at -31. The Rams, one of only 2 teams to be positive in both aspects. You're going to see a great pass rush today. No David Bakhtiari really hurts that offensive line. They were going to start Jared Veldheer. He goes up on the COVID list. So now they're looking like, what's going to happen off the edge? Leonard Floyd and Aaron Donald had the most combined pressures of any duo in the entire National Football League. The way to beat this team is to stop Devontae Adams. There isn't a better defensive back in the league to do that than Jalen Ramsey, #1 in the league this year against wide receivers who made the Pro Bowl this year and last year. 37% completion percentage on passes when he's the closest defender. If you stop Devontae Adams, you stop the Green Bay Packers. I think the Rams defense has the recipe to frustrate the Packers. I do think they're live dogs. Do I think they win the game? Probably not. I do think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are able to pull this out late, because I'm with you. I'm not sure you get enough out of Jared Goff to get to that 27 that you probably win. This feels like a 24-20, 23-20 type of win for Green Bay. So I like the Rams to cover here, and I won't be shocked if they win the football game.
And I understand where you're coming from when we look at it, because if you just say the Rams on defense and you match them up with anybody in the NFL, they're going to give you a fighting chance. This also predicated that Aaron Donald is 100% healthy and able to be the wrecking ball he was last week versus Seattle Seahawks, before that injury. So now he has that coming in. We could see a guy that's maybe playing only 60% of the snaps, 50% of the snaps, or even you see that update from Pam Oliver on the sideline. Hey guys, just got an update here. Aaron Donald headed to the locker room. Doesn't look too good for his abdomen or his, rib cage. That could be devastating information. But the reason why I can't take the Rams, I love the Rams defense. They should be able to keep you in the ball game. But the cap for me is completely away from the Rams' actual defensive side of the ball and back on the offense. You're not going to be able to go into Green Bay and say, we're going to hold Green Bay and the Packers to 17 points. That's not going to happen in this game. So when I flip it over and look at what the offense can do, they have a really good offensive line. They have a young running back in Akers, who I really like, has come on late in the season, got banged up a little bit later, but last week showed, hey, back to my springy self out here. I can make some moves in the open field. I can carry this offense. But now you're taking him off turf, which he's used to being at home, and also last week, as you saw him with Seattle. Now you're moving into colder weather conditions and on the grass, and you're saying, hey, do it again for us back-to-back weeks with about 30 touches to try to keep the game close. Whenever I see the opponent, when their game plan to me is going to be like, hey, let's keep the game close and play really good defense, like it's the 1986 or 1990 New York Giants, I don't think that plays in today, because when I look at the Green Bay Packers and size them up, they played the Chicago Bears twice over the last, 5 weeks. They blew them off the field 2 times, and that's a team with an elite front seven, electric linebackers, the best pass rusher in the game. Say what you want. The secondary obviously isn't comparable from the Bears over to the Rams, but when I see that they dropped 41 and 35 on those teams and blew them away, knowing that the Chicago Bears have an inept quarterback just like the Rams do, and I just see the game playing out in that fashion. Do I think it's going to be that big of a blowout? I don't see it, but what my cap comes down to is I can't back a broken thumb, throwing hand, bad quarterback with his best weapon down. That's what it comes down to me here.
And first of all, how dare you bring up the 1990 New York Giants? That was a painful day in my childhood, and that disgusting hit by Lawrence Taylor on Joe Montana and Jeff Hostetler. Like, just how dare you? But look, you're not wrong. Like, I think all your thoughts are valid and correct. It's just when I go back and I watch the games where the Packers struggle, It's the pass rush up the middle. It's Devontae Adams not really being into the rhythm, not being involved in the offense, and you start getting that pouty face on Aaron Rodgers, and things spiral downhill, and that is what concerns me. I've never been a big believer in the Packers. I don't think they're a great number 1 overall seed. Just like last year, we knew they were a fraud 13-3 2 seed. As soon as I saw that my 49ers were going to get to play the Packers in the championship game, I was elated. Why? Because I knew we were going to play physical defense that would frustrate Aaron Rodgers, and we would be able to run the football. And I think that is exactly what the Rams do today. Now, do I think they have enough to win? I do think they have a shot to win. I don't have a yes, it was Lawrence Taylor who hit Joe Montana and ripped his elbow out. I just rewatched the game this week as well, so we could discuss that all you want. But yes, it was Claude Martin in the chat box. Sorry to disappoint you, but when you see that and you're like, man, I just don't know if these Packers have the guts to go 60 minutes with a tough physical defense. It's going to be a grind for them. They're going to need a big play out of Valdez-Scantling, who, we'll get to DFS in a moment. I do think has some tournament upside there. He's going to have to hit Darius Williams, who's also been very, very good. This isn't just a bad or a great Jalen Ramsey. Darius Williams and Troy Hill are also very good. Leonard Floyd, Morgan Fox, Aaron Donald. You saw the pass rush of the Rams did not let up last week when Aaron Donald went down. I'm reading the chat box wondering if something actually happened to Joe Rogan. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not hip, I don't have any idea what the hell is going on in the real world. Like, did Joe Rogan
don't get
really
Kyle sidetracked. Hey, chat box, don't get this guy sidetracked.
Good Lord, I'm reading this like, wait, what the hell? Did Joe Rogan actually die? Like, there's all this crazy shit. So look, I think everything you say is right and valid. Am I risking being wrong? Absolutely. Who knows? Tomorrow I saw the comment in the chat box. We might be looking tomorrow. Go, why in the hell did we bet on Jared Goff and the Rams? And that happens to me all the time. One thing I will say, just a couple little betting tidbits. I believe it was 11 of the last 13 regular season games. The under played for the Rams. The under actually hit when the Rams were on the field. So there is something to look at there. This is a tough game, but I like the Rams covering in this one. I'm not a big Packers fan. There's probably not a team in the NFL I can't stand more than the Green Bay Packers. I do think they squeak it out and get to the championship game next week, but I think the Rams cover, and it will not shock me if they win a low-scoring defensive battle with Aaron Rodgers frustrated.
And also, let's not forget about this as well. This is the first year where the double bye is not in place. The single bye is out there. The biggest difference in the NFL, the most major advantage you can have, used to be like home field advantage, but now, there's only a couple thousand fans that will be in Green Bay. But it's the extra week off to sit at home and prepare for a team that had to slug it out with a division rival last week on the road, fly back home, then go on the road again and play on a Saturday as opposed to Sunday. It's a major advantage here for the Green Bay Packers. And also, I do like to say this as well, because I am a conspiracy artist, a conspiracy theorist. I believe in a lot of underlying things, that the NFL is entertainment, and their bottom line doesn't care who wins, Kyle. The bottom line cares about who's going to get the most ratings. And everybody in the NFL front office, just like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, is going like this, Aaron Rodgers is going to face Patrick Mahomes. I just have that in my head. But that major advantage of sitting back and watching, and this is a banged up football team. If we were getting a full go Rams team, everybody healthy, get out on the field, we're not going to have any issues, I would like the Rams. And this coming from a guy who somebody tweeted earlier, had a correct take on that. Like, I'm trying to break down the game saying, hey, I don't believe in the 6.5. I think the Packers win. And it says, yeah, you know what? Donnie actually hates the Packers as well. It looks like he likes. I dislike the Packers. I want to get off this show and be like, damn, go ahead, Rams. Bury Aaron Rodgers. I just don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, and I don't think you're wrong, but I actually think it. I think it happens. I think this is a low-scoring game. Again, Rams are going to cover this. I like that defense. I don't think the Packers have enough variance on offense. Look, I don't think Aaron Jones is going to be very effective. Again, the Rams, one of the best run-stopping offenses in the league. You're going to see way too much Jamal Williams. Matt LaFleur does the dumbest crap as a head coach.
Now, hold on. I'm going to ask you a question about this, right? Because I like to give coaches the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to let you finish that.
Okay.
Isn't this what we were saying Matt LaFleur is an idiot for all year long? And maybe he's saying in the back, I can't respond to this because once the playoffs start, I'm going to unleash this guy because I'm not saving him anymore. Could that possibly be in Matt LaFleur's mind today? Like, we're going to let Aaron Jones get after it.
And I hope it's right, because that's exactly what should happen. And you could very well be right. But I have a sick feeling We're going to see way too much Jamal Williams. Neither one of them are going to be run the football. Like Jamal Williams wouldn't even be on a roster. I don't understand how he's their number 2 running back. It doesn't make any damn sense. The guy stinks. He's absolutely terrible. But you could be right. And hey, that will be a huge boost to the Packers if they're like, hey, listen, this is a great secondary out here. We're going to have a hard time getting the ball to Adams. We need to get Tunyon involved. We need to get the ball to Aaron. Aaron Jones is a terrific receiver out of the backfield. So we'll have to see what he does. But the first time that I see Jamal Williams on the field for an entire drive and Aaron Jones is just standing there completely healthy, wondering why he's not on the field, I'm going to smile on the inside and realize, yep, we're going to cover this spread. Rams are going to get this done. I think it's a low-scoring, close game. Give me the Rams.
Mark Rock says, I'm watching you guys and Fox. You guys hands down better to listen. Of course we're better to listen to.
Right. I mean, Terry Bradshaw's delusional.
And then my man Kyle hasn't even started like the party yet technically here. So just wait till the show continues to flow and we have some fun getting after it. But it's an interesting game to look at. I like that it starts first because even though last week we had the division, we had the wild card round start off. We had it right off the bat, like Bills, Colts, like, yes, get into it. Like I need to decompress a little bit. Like I need to watch some football and then settle in for the second game, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But let's keep it here with Green Bay and the Rams. Because looking at again, we can't come on this show and be fair and be like, hey, because 6.5 was all week long. If you bet already with Green Bay at the 6.5, that's what you should have got. If you're watching the show today, be like, hey, let me see what Donnie and Kyle said. You know what? Donnie likes Green Bay. Let me take the 7. That's the wrong way to approach gambling because those numbers were viable for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and right into the early part of Saturday. And also, I can't say this enough. Like doing this for a living is a lot of fun for me. Most of you guys in that chat box here spend your time with us. You are hardworking individuals, 9 to 5 sales jobs, busting your hump all day. Me and Kyle can sit back all day long with Twitter up and just look at Twitter repeatedly. So we read the tea leaves during the week. It was trending that Cooper Kupp wasn't going to play as of around Thursday. And if he was going to play and suit up, he wasn't going to be healthy and maybe just a decoy. So you should have had that. But I see today, like it always interests me, right? Cooper Kupp is finally inactive and the line starts moving to 7. Like if you're betting Green Bay, like what were you waiting for anyway? You knew this was going to probably be the case heading into this football game. So look, when we come here and talk about these games, we have to talk about 7. So I'm still going to stay with the Green Bay Packers today at -7 since you're watching, because I don't think there's any chance Green Bay loses this game. So I'm still going to ride it out.
There we go. And I'm going to ride out the Rams. I think that defense frustrates the Green Bay Packers. I'm not Look, I'm not a Rams fan either. I'm a 49ers guy. I don't have any love for the Rams. In fact, I remember the first time I really disliked the team. It was 1989. It was the NFC Championship game. It was the Rams and the 49ers. I couldn't stand Jim Everett. There was a sign that I'll never forget in the stands that said, Roger be nimble, Rice be quick, Rams get burned at the candlestick. It was one of my favorite signs of all time. I still remember it to this day. I have no love for the Rams. But bottom line is I've watched every Packer game twice, especially against teams with good defenses that frustrate them. I don't think Chicago had that good of a defense. Their secondary was absolutely bewildered and injured. So I don't really equate them to the Rams. I'm taking the Rams. I think that defense frustrates a close game. I think Packers fans are going to sweat this all the way to the end. They're going to need a miracle by Aaron Rodgers. They probably get it late in the game, but I'm going to take the Packers to cover.
How about the totals? We take a look, right? 46.5 down to 45. That's such a low number for today's NFL standards. And when you look at it, right, I don't care how good the Rams defense is. When you have an elite quarterback and an elite offensive unit, you don't really get held. You might stumble for a quarter or two, right? But eventually you're going to catch tracking and you're going to be able to put up some points. That just leads me to believe with that low number here. And we could be all completely wrong. Like if maybe Sean McVay's on the backside of this going, dude, everybody expects us to hand the football 30 times to Akers. That's not really the way you win in the NFL. As I talked about, a couple of minutes ago, this isn't like, Hostetler coming in for the Giants and playing the Buffalo Bills high-octane offense in the Super Bowl and saying, well, if we could just run for 3 yards in a cloud of dust and have a 10-minute drive, that's going to be a benefit. That doesn't work anymore in the NFL. So I don't think that the altering of the offense per se, because you saw it go 6.5 to 7, which means, hey, Cooper Kupp being out's a pretty big injury. But on the overall game itself, 45 has been out there, 45.5, a half point on that. I don't believe that, because even when the Rams start to get down, let's just say the Rams down 14-3 at the half, just use a fake number out here just for argument's sake. Are the Rams going to establish the run in the second half? The Rams aren't the Giants. Like, if the Giants were in this game, they would try to establish a run down 34-3 in the fourth quarter with Joe Judge. Sean McVay's not doing that. So when I look at 45, they are going to be throwing and throwing and throwing. And if I do think Jared Goff is a bad quarterback, which I do, and he's throwing and throwing and throwing, that doesn't necessarily mean incomplete passes. That means chance for a big play on offense, chance for a big play on defense, and sacks, strip fumbles that we've seen quite a bit. So when I look at the 45 number, it's just too low for me in a Green Bay Packers game. I'm still going to go over, even though I don't like the offensive, look so far of the Rams today.
Yeah, I would be a little bit nervous. Like, that number feels about right to me. Like 24-20 in this game makes a ton of sense. So that would be slightly going the under, and I think you'd be sweating it out the entire fourth quarter, hoping for something good. So I stayed away from the total. I think you're right. That 45 number is, it's an efficient number in my opinion. I think it hits the mark just about right, but you're absolutely right. What you're probably going to see from the Rams today with Cooper Kupp out as well is you're going to see a lot of two tight ends. You're going to see Higbee and Everett. You know what the Rams do. They run the same formation, but different plays out of the same formation. You're going to see motion across the field with Robert Woods. I do think that the Rams are able to run the ball here. The Packers front seven is a soft and vulnerable front seven. I don't see a shootout here. I'd be very surprised if this was a shootout, but I don't think you're crazy taking the over. It is a low number. We always talk about it when you're at the over 56, right? Like, you need everything to go right. Well, when you're taking an under 45, you also need everything to go right. So it's a real iffy number. I think it's about right. I've been on the under for most of the week. It's one that makes me nervous. I ended up not putting any of my money on it because I think it's about right. But the over is probably the play here, especially if you want to have fun watching the game. It's no fun betting an under 45 and watching the game. No fun
Andrew
at all.
Peraza says Packers win by 10 points here. Now, let's take a look at a couple things. And guys, thank you for the thumbs up there. 53 thumbs up, 1 thumbs down. Awesome stuff. About 300 people currently watching with us here. Let's take a look, because I'm not a big teaser guy. I'm not a big sides guy. You know me. I specialize in team totals. That's what I try to get down for. So when we look at the team totals in this game, coming down, like, there's a lot of different outlets. And I love the fact, and I can't wait for you guys out here. Like, I live in New Jersey. The only good thing about New Jersey at all is the sports gambling legalized with how many options we have. Because as I look on my books, which I have money loaded into, you can go anywhere between 17.5 and 19 right now. That's a big difference when you're taking a look at, firing away. So if we take a look at the better numbers here, Green Bay Packers like 26.5 as a team total. The Rams around that 17.5 point range. They should, but it's funny because I hate the Rams, but I like the back value here where I see, you know what, if this goes wrong, because when you have a 17.5, and I lost this last week with the Chicago Bears, even if you only have 3 points at the half, you're still in it. You are still in it for a team total. And even last week, when you took a look at the Rams game, I had the Rams over 18.5. And the joke was, I'm ready to smoke a cigarette when Walford went down after Jared Goff's first 2 plays that he came in after the injury. I'm like, I don't know if they get a first down, let alone score anymore. Defensive play, bam, and here you are off and running. The Rams can provide that strip sack, fumble, pick six, going the opposite direction. You just need that. If they get a touchdown in the first quarter, which isn't a huge deal, hey, you have a nice drive, you get an interception at the 50-yard line or a nice punt return, you drive 50 yards and punch it in. You only need to get to that 17.5 number, which is so low. So that's why I actually like the team total for the Rams, if that makes sense, even more than the Packers, even though I like the Packers to win the game and cover.
Yep, I'm 100% with you. Well, I like the Rams team total because I like the Rams to cover, and I think they get to about 20 to 24 points. So I even at 19.5, I put a little bit of money on that just a few minutes ago, right before we started the show. I'm going to take the Rams team total over 19.5. Green Bay's defense, their secondary has been much better this year. Absolutely. But that front seven is not, and I do expect the Rams to be in third and manageable a lot. And when that happens, Sean McVay's a great play caller, lots of motions, 2 capable tight ends who can catch the ball. You're still going to have Robert Woods, the rookie Van Jefferson look better at the end of the year. Josh Reynolds will be an interesting DFS play as well. I'm taking the Rams team total. I'm taking them to cover. The moral of this story is going to be pain. I like the pain. Give me the underdog here. Give me the Rams.
All right, hypothetical here. If I gave you a free teaser in this game, I'm not even talking about over-under, but you had to start your teaser off and maybe do it with another game. Would you tease the Packers down to 1, or would you take the 13 with the Rams in this game?
Ooh, that's I think I would take the 13. I think the Rams I think the Packers win a close one. So I will say the Packers, but since I believe the Rams are a live dog to win, I would feel a whole lot better with that 13, because look, if the Rams win, then you win both. The Packers make me nervous. I'm telling you, the Packers make me very, very nervous today. I know everyone's on the Packers, everyone and their mama on the Packers, and we got angry Packers fans out here in the chat box, and I love it. I'm sorry that I don't love your favorite team, but they're soft. Fact of the matter is, and they're probably the worst 1 seed in a very, very long time, just like they were the worst 2 seed in a very, very long time last year. You Packer fans are in for a stressful day. I think the Rams 13, I would take that Rams 13 all day long. I don't mind teasing that.
Yeah, I would be the opposite because I just don't see the Packers losing. I don't see any way the Rams actually win this game. And unless, again, look, we're still playing in hypotheticals here because you could have the first drive. Oh, my goodness. Here comes Leonard Floyd blowing around the corner of a backup tackle, and Aaron Rodgers is in the booth with a concussion and being checked out. Then you have the game at a tailspin. It's happened before in the playoffs, and it'll happen again. Happened last week at the Rams. My Philadelphia Eagles the year before against Seattle. Carson Wentz goes down like on the, first drive of the game. They had no shot the rest of the way with a 50-year-old quarterback that came in and tried to help him out. So that can always happen. But I just look at the Rams and I say, you know what? They might be in this game, but I think the Green Bay Packers win. Let's go ahead and take a look at some prop bets in this game. I have 2 of them here, and both of them in this game actually coming from the Green Bay side. But I'm going to start with you first, Kyle. Give me some props that we're looking at between the Rams and the Green Bay Packers.
I took 3 props in this one. The first one was the easiest for me to take. Aaron Jones under 71.5 yards rushing. I just think they struggle to run the ball on this Rams defense, and I don't think he gets enough carries to even get there. So Aaron Jones under 71.5 yards rushing at -103 at my bookie. I took Marquez Valdes-Scantling over 1.5 catches. Devontae Adams is going to have some trouble with Jalen Ramsey. They're going to have to find some of these tertiary targets. I'm going to go ahead and go with Valdes-Scantling over 1.5 catches. I think he gets there. And then I also took that soft front 7 for the Packers. I know you Packers fans don't want to accept it and don't want to believe it, but I promise you, they are soft up front, one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. In fact, the second worst rushing defense left in the playoffs outside of the Kansas City Chiefs. So I took Cam Akers over 77.5 rushing yards as well.
All right, so I'm going to go I have 2 small bets in this game. I have a lot more prop bets on the next one we'll talk about between Buffalo and Baltimore. But I got Valdes-Scantling over 23.5 receiving yards in this game. If I think the general focus is going to be able to shut down the number 1 wide receiver, Devontae Adams, he is going to be open. Now, the question is going to be, does he pull a, like Wims last week? Hey, wide open, let me just drop it, because I've watched Marquez Valdes-Scantling go deep and catch a touchdown pass. You know what I also watched him do, Kyle? Go deep and drop a touchdown pass. So as long as he catches his balls today, which again, Kyle, you can write some scripting for those words, but 23.5, he gets the over on that. Number 2, Jones, I have over 99.5 yards today. That's rushing and receiving. I'm going with Matt LaFleur saying I bubble taped him all year, gave these knuckleheads some extra carries in the backfield. So for this specific moment, I'm going to let him get 20 total touches in this game. He gets over 100 yards. So those are the 2 that I'm having today. If we look at some DFS action in this ball game today, Aaron Rodgers, 6,900. Jared Goff at 5,200 from the quarterback position. I don't like Jared Goff. I don't love Aaron Rodgers because I don't know how much of the pedal to the metal we need. So both of those quarterbacks off my list today for DFS Millionaire.
Yeah, and look, if you're playing the 2-game Saturday slates, they do the Saturday Millionaire and the Sunday Millionaire. So if you're playing multiple lineups, you're going to want a little bit of exposure to Aaron Rodgers. When you look at the rankings here, the Rams allowed the fewest fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks, and it wasn't even close. It's going to be a tough matchup, but Aaron Rodgers, we know about the upside, so I would have some exposure there. Jared Goff, no thank you. The Packers allowed the 5th fewest fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. That's not the way they win this football game, but I will say this. If you're one of those players who plays 100 lineups, 150 lineups, etc., throwing in a few Jared Goff lineups, it's going to be the most contrarian play on the slate. If you play a lot of DFS, you know that there are a lot of, man, the chat box is cracking me up today. It's hard to stay focused with the chat box. Love what you guys are doing out there. Don't forget to hit the like button or the unlike button, whatever you want to do, whatever the hell you want to do out there. Just be a part of it. And there you go. If I don't win my wagers this week, I will be the hell out of here and you guys can all celebrate. But Jared Goff will be a very contrarian type play. And if he does throw for 2 touchdowns, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, it could very well be the thing that sets you apart from the rest of the field in that Millionaire Maker tournament.
There you go. Keep it moving here quickly here. Running back position, Aaron Jones obviously getting the top prize money here, 6,800. Cam Akers at 5,700. Some backups with Williams, 4,400, and also Brown at 4,100. I actually had Cam Akers in my early lineup for the millionaire. I took him out because I'm trying to play from an edges. I'm going to have the lead with my running backs and play from ahead. I don't think I have that snare with Cam Akers. Now, to the naked eye, he should control the ball. He should get 30 touches. But if they're losing, those touches are going to diminish, which I think they will. I took him out of my lineup here. I like Aaron Jones at 6,800 playing from that top dog position and being in the lead.
Yeah, I don't have as much Aaron Rodgers. Again, the Rams allowed the third fewest fantasy points to opposing running backs. I don't think he gets on the field as much. Do I have exposure to him? Absolutely. I'm going to go a little under the field. I went about 15% exposure to Aaron Jones in my lineups, and I went a little over. Cam Akers projected at 31% ownership today. That's what I have him at. Again, those are just projections. But again, the Packers allowed the fifth most fantasy points to opposing running backs. And hey, I don't sweat the chat box. I love the chat box. I love you guys being in here, giving me crap. I live for this stuff. If you guys all agreed with me, this would be a boring world. I mean, and it'd be a crazy world. Yeah. We need you guys disagreeing with me and telling me I'm stupid. Otherwise, we need Donnie doing it too. Otherwise, we'd have 3 strikes and we wouldn't even be allowed to talk to you guys right now. So it's really, really important to do that. But Jones and Akers, if you're looking for a pain play, I wouldn't go the Jamal Williams route. I think Malcolm Brown could be interesting if you're looking for maybe someone who could fall in the end zone. He could be a pain play at running back this week.
All right, let's keep moving here. Wide receiver position, Devontae Adams, 8,600. Robert Woods, 5,900. No Cooper Kupp now, so some of those backups there, like Reynolds, 3,200. Even the popular one is always Van Jefferson. Doesn't seem to be able to do much, but always gets propped up. He's sitting at 3,000. I don't really know if I want to pay 8,600 for Devontae Adams, knowing he's going to draw Jalen Ramsey for the majority of the game. Can he score? Sure. Can he catch 7? Of course. Can he get 100 yards? Yeah, he's that good, but it's not one of those matchups that I'm like, oh, man, I can't wait until Devontae Adams chews on Jalen Ramsey on the outside. So not much from the wide receiver position for me in this game because, as you know, I don't like anything from the Rams' perspective on offense per se when it deals to fantasy, but I have to tell you, a little bit intrigued again. Valdez-Scantling, 3,800, secondary option. Chance he gets a touchdown today. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I got a ton of Marquez Valdez-Scantling, unfortunately, just because, you expect – we've seen Aaron Rodgers before. If you guys can think back to Rodgers versus the Seahawks in those big playoff games, he really does shy away from the best defensive back on the other team. Remember, he wouldn't throw to Jordy Nelson when he was over Richard Sherman. Could see a lot more Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Now, you bring up a great point. He probably had – the only player in the NFL with worse hands than Valdez-Scantling is probably Evan Ingram, right? Is that the – that's got to be the only player with worse hands.
It's funny when you said that, like, it's before you even got out of your mouth. He's got to be going Evan Ingram here. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. You have to. They're both stone hands, and Valdez-Scantling, all of these, that's talent, all this speed. He does have that tournament upside at 3,800. I like that. If I'm going to play a Ram, it's obviously going to be Robert Woods, not just because he's going to be probably the most targeted player, but they also involve him in the running game a little bit in the red zone, so you have some red zone upside if they're able to get there. I do have more Devontae Adams than I wanted simply because there's so much value elsewhere, and I'm doing, some 2-game. If I'm doing the 4-game slate the whole weekend, I have less Devontae Adams, but on that Saturday slate where it's only 2 games, it's pretty easy to fit both Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs. We'll get to him later in your lineup and still make a solid lineup. So I will have him just based on volume alone. He's obviously going to be the focal point of the offense. Will he hit 3 or 4 times value? Probably not against Jalen Ramsey, but he's still someone who, even if when you're doing these smaller slates in DraftKings and FanDuel, it's more about raw points and not hitting a certain percentage of value. Raw points wise, Devontae Adams will most likely be in the first place lineup for the 2-game slate.
And quickly, your tight ends, Tanyan 4,200, Higbee at 3,000, some backups here, Everett 2,700, and then getting all the way down to the Jay Sternbergs of the world, which I don't even know if he's playing or even active today at this point. But I do think Tanyan actually has a legitimate chance to cash in today.
Yep, I like Robert Tonyan at 4,200. It's a nice price, even on FanDuel at 6,200. I have a ton of Robert Tonyan. Again, we talked about the great secondary for the Rams. How do you beat that? Go in between the field, get your tight end in one-on-one matchups with the linebackers or your running back. So I do like Robert Tonyan. And if you're looking for some pain, Higbee and Gerald Everett are very underpriced. No Cooper Kupp. I think you see more 2 tight end sets. Higbee at 3,000, Gerald Everett at 27. They could both be a little bit interesting today as well.
Defense is coming up in there, obviously, between the 2. I'm not really in love with either one of the defense between the Rams and the Green Bay Packers because I do think the quarterback on the one side of the football, which if you're going against a Rams defense, you should get sacks. He gets rid of the ball quite quickly on that. And then you have, obviously, the opposite side of the ball, and the Green Bay Packers going against the Rams. I would lean towards the Green Bay Packers in this one. Any thoughts on those two?
Yeah, basically, I have exposure to both. There's not really a great standout defense, especially in today's game. You could see all four teams winning, all four team defenses, being the top scorer. All it takes is one pick six, one kick return for a touchdown. So I do have a little bit of interest in the Packers because of the Jared Goff factor, and a little bit of interest in the Rams because of the Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, Jalen Ramsey factor. The Rams are a turnover machine on defense, the highest rated defense in the NFL. So even if they lose the football game, you get a pick six, a strip sack fumble, that may be enough points at their lower price to win you a tournament. So I have a little exposure to both.
All right, now it's time for the main event tonight. We're going to talk about 303, 304, Buffalo and Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, 50-50 ticket split roughly here. A little bit of an edge there to the Buffalo side, around that 52, 53%. Opened up at 3, sits at 2.5 across the board. Saw it as low as 1.5 for a day, or maybe a half of a day. Back up to 2s and 2.5s, which I do think is a fair price. I've said it all week. I think Buffalo is being, not to say who's going to win the game, I just think Buffalo is getting a little bit disrespected here, because you're taking a look at a 13-3 football team that's icing people down the stretch. Could have probably been a 14-2 team without the Hail Mary at that point. They played, rough games early in the season, which they lost to Tennessee, and of course the Chiefs, which again, no shame in your game to lose to both of those teams at that time as well. But I'm looking at this game overall, and I'm trying to see, what's Baltimore going to do well? This is the healthiest Baltimore has been all year long, specifically on defense. Defensive secondary really looks good. Last week, what they hold them, like under 200 yards total against a Tennessee offense that you really couldn't stop. And that also, the sign of a champion is, I'm getting my bell rung in the first quarter. 10-0, I'm down. They go out and allow 3 points over the final 3 quarters and beat up the Tennessee Titans. Now they head in to play the Buffalo Bills, who we've seen routinely in the late high 20s, 30s, 40 points, even close to 50 points, and even busting up the Miami Dolphins. But when I take a look at this game and try to cap it, 2 things come to mind here. You saw last week when the Tennessee Titans said, you know what? We got Derrick Henry. We got a big offensive line. I don't care that you guys play bully ball in your front 7 now that you're healthy. We're going to show you what bully ball is all about. It's worked in the past, worked in the playoffs last year for Tennessee, worked this year even when they played the Baltimore Ravens. But the Ravens said, enough. We're healthy now. You're not running the football on us. And they completely stopped Derrick Henry. There's nobody in the backfield anywhere near that capability for the Buffalo Bills. Zach Moss, who was your ground and pound guy, he's going to be out for the playoffs, which leaves Devin Singletary as your primary back. We know is more Darren Sproles than, Derrick Henry at this point, the way he plays. Still a viable, capable back. Windy conditions now coming in, seeing the 13s, the 14s, into the 15s, 16s, and 17-mile-an-hour winds later in the day. Now, we also saw early in the week, we might have had a chance at getting some snow in the forecast. Looks like that's completely out. So we should have a clean slate when we take this game on. If I'm looking at the Buffalo Bills in this game, a lot of 4 and 5 wide sets in this. Now, Stephon Diggs still banged up a little bit with his oblique injury. You're also taking a look at Cole Beasley in the slot. Still, we'll see if that knee is a little bit iffy. Colder conditions. We'll see how that wears out and see if they can play. But the pathway to victory for the Buffalo Bills is not running the football. It's Brian Daboll's offense opening it up and saying, you know what? I'm still going to test that secondary because I'm not running this football team into a brick wall here, Kyle.
Yeah, this is going to be tough for Buffalo, and those windy conditions only favor Baltimore. And I've been saying it all week. When I look at the building blocks to victory for each team, it's very simple for Buffalo. Josh Allen has to do everything. He's going to be their running game. He's going to be their short yardage running game, and he's going to be their passing game. There is a lot on the table for Josh Allen to have to do. And when you look at the Baltimore side, they have a terrific secondary. They have guys who can slow down those receivers. They blitz more than any team in the league. Now, I will say this. Josh Allen was the quarterback blitzed the most in the NFL. And Josh Allen was very, very good. I believe he had the 4th highest QBR in the league this year against the blitz. So Josh Allen's been very, very good against the blitz. But when you look at it, Buffalo, one of the 2nd, 3rd worst rushing defenses in the entire NFL. They give up a ton of yards per carry. They struggle against the run in the red zone. Everything starts to look like, the wall is being built, if you will, to victory for the Baltimore Ravens. And when those wins pick up, look, Josh Allen has a rocket arm. You could argue maybe only Mahomes has a stronger arm if he does. Josh Allen should be able to spin it through any sort of wind condition. But I think Baltimore is able to run the ball, and they, by far, in my opinion, have the better defense. Does Buffalo have some good defensive players in Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White? Absolutely. But I think when you look at the strength of the Baltimore offense, it's their running game. It fits right into what Buffalo was bad at on defense, which is stopping the run. And I know they did a pretty good job last week against the Colts, Buffalo did. But Frank Reich had a really weird game plan, was really compact, and didn't have the same sort of dynamic. When you're playing the Colts, Phillip Rivers isn't going to fake the handoff and sprint 80 yards to the left-hand side of the field, right? We know, right, Donnie? We know you're not doing that in that game,
No, I'm
right?
not
We
doing
know
that. I'm too old.
you're just looking to get rid of the football and get the hell out of the way. I think I think it's good that Mark Ingram's not active. They're not going to waste any time putting him on the field. J.K. Dobbins, Lamar Jackson, I think they have big games today. Like I said, I'm double dog guy today. I think Baltimore wins this football game. As much as I want Buffalo to win, I will be cheering on the Buffalo Bills. I would love to see Buffalo in the AFC Championship game next week against the Chiefs. But unfortunately, I just think their weaknesses play too much into the strengths of Baltimore. I think the Ravens win.
It is a great culture of both of these football teams. I love the Buffalo Bills. I like the direction they're headed in. I've always liked the Baltimore Ravens. They just have the exact, personnel in the front office to make these decisions, and they always come up aces, regardless if they, draft a quarterback. And Lamar Jackson, we all doubted him. They make it work. They draft guys that they know are going to be good for their culture. And Lamar Jackson's a great kid, not one of those kids that comes in and I'm not going to deal with the media. Every time he steps in front of the camera, he owns everything. It just seems like a genuinely nice guy, and I like the root for nice guys. It's nice also? Josh Allen on the opposite side. This is going to be a fun game for me to watch. And again, I come from the side of it still saying Buffalo still seems a little bit disrespected with that line under 3 with how good of a season they had. But when you take a look at Baltimore in the season as a whole, they lost a lot of games to COVID, a lot of games to injury. Now they're cycled back and healthy. When you take a look after that Pittsburgh Steelers game, Kyle, where the COVID really kicked in, knocked out, 10 players, lost a lot of people, they've been averaging almost 300, I say almost, but it's like 260, 270 yards a game, which is outrageous. When they want to run the football, you're still letting them run for close to 270 yards a game over the final 6 games, I believe it was, where they've done that. If we take a look at, let's just say Pro Football Focus, the 31st run defense in the NFL, those Buffalo Bills. That's right. Where this game is going to be won with home run runs, if that makes sense. And you're right. If there are some windy conditions, Josh Allen's not going to have any issue with that. If he's throwing into a 15-mile-an-hour wind, trust me, he can still get the ball 65 yards down the field where Stephon Diggs can do some damage. There are going to be plays made down the field, and I think Brian Daboll is smart enough to watch games like last week's Tennessee and say, that's an explosive offense that tried to force feed the run, and it just didn't work. Also, keep in mind, down Adam Humphries in that game. You also saw Corey Davis go down with an injury. So, yeah, A.J. Brown's a great wide receiver, but he was legitimately like the only standing option for the majority of that game. We don't think that's going to be the case here with Buffalo. Has a lot of weapons on the outside that can get after it. And if I think the Buffalo Bills are going to be throwing a lot, Kyle, that's great, because when you take a look at a total and think it could get over the 49.5, you don't want, let's run 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You know what you want? If you go 3 and out, you burned 22 seconds off the clock. I think that can happen in this game. Baltimore is a big-time offense, but does it so non-conventional of what we see in the NFL. They can break big runs. You can have a 39 from midfield, and Lamar Jackson runs it in himself. Also, you have the excellent kicking of Justin Tucker, who even missed, a 52-yarder, which really shocked me last week. But then what's he do? 2 minutes later, 51-yarder, boom, right down the center. That's also going to come into play in windy conditions, this one. I would be hard-pressed, because I like to ask you this question in some of these games. Are we looking at 21-17, or are we looking closer to 28-27? I mean, come on now.
I would lean the 28-27 side, but honestly, I won't be stunned if it's 21-17. I really wouldn't be. Look, there's so much pressure on Josh Allen. I see the debate in the chat box. Who's better, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen? They're just two different players. These are two outstanding, phenomenal young quarterbacks. I would be so happy if I had either one of them on the 49ers over Jimmy Garoppolo. Believe me, ecstatic, absolutely ecstatic. But again, Baltimore's secondary is very good. You have one guy in Marcus Peters who looks like he's going to play, has been banged up, dealing with the injury situation all week. He's going to play, and he will give up the big play. So that's one thing that I would be concerned about if I'm a Baltimore fan. Does Stephon Diggs put a double move, and Marcus Peters, who gets over-aggressive, he will go for that interception, and players will be wide open. So there is some big play upside against Marcus Peters, not so much against Jimmy Smith and Marlon Humphrey. They're much more fundamental. They're going to be down, covering their scheme, covering their spot. So there's going to be a lot of passes, which plays to the over, right? Just like you said, there's going to be a lot of these quick 3-and-out drives for Baltimore, or, maybe one first down, because they're not going to run the football. Bottom line, it's just not going to happen. But on the other side of that, that Baltimore running game is dynamic, and you talked about how bad Buffalo is at stopping the run. That's what it's going to be. And will the play action pass open up? There is some weaknesses. Teron Johnson, Levi Wallace on the other side, outside of Tre'Davious White, guys like Willie Snead, Miles Boykin. They're going to have to make plays in this game. I'm just, man, I see so many paths to victory for Baltimore, and the only path I see for Buffalo is Josh Allen to dominate one of the league's best defenses that's finally healthy. I think it's uphill sledding. As much as I'm rooting for Baltimore, I got to go with my head in this one. I just think that Baltimore running game is too much for Buffalo, and I got to take the Ravens. And I am with you. I'm leaning the over. I do think I do think the over hits here. 28-24 makes a ton of sense to me in this game.
If you're betting, and I understand it's playoff football, you might get some windy conditions there, no precipitation. But when I take a look at both of these offenses, they can hit from anywhere. Like Lamar Jackson can play a bad quarter of football, and they can still end up with 30 points. And the same thing with Josh Allen, because when we talk about, that key word, the pathways to victory, the pathway to victory for Buffalo is not running the football and churning the clock. It's saying your front seven is really stout. How can I avoid that? Let's go over the top. And they have guys that can get deep and get over. And we know in the NFL, an incomplete pass 50 yards down the field can be just as good as completion. Why? Because that yellow flag comes out with Stephon Diggs burning and running by people. We do know that that is an ultra aggressive secondary for the Baltimore Ravens, which is great. They'll jump passes for an interception and a touchdown, but they also will commit a lot of penalties on the back end by playing physical. We'll see how that plays into the game tonight. It's a tough one for me to look at because I do think Baltimore is really in this to win it. And why I say that is they're just strong coming down the stretch. They are the ones peaking at the right time. It seems like Buffalo's been peaking the entire year, but we're still looking through that lens of, Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, and we'll see what they can do against a real football team. Let's not forget, the Colts were the most ridiculous matchup you can get as a 2 seed in the first round of the NFL playoffs. That was a legitimate AFC threat, and they get by him by 3 points. But even the week before, in one of those games where you play the Miami Dolphins, who, again, with Tua, not a very good football team, but still a playoff-worthy football team if they had won, they just blew them off the field. And I can't get my eyes off the offensive landscape for them. Versus the Colts. The Colts still have a decent defense. 96 on the ground, 301 in the air. So basically 400 yards of offense in that game. Miami, over 400 yards of offense. Versus New England, over 400 yards of offense. Versus Denver, 500 yards of offense. It's just not going to slow down. Josh Allen should throw a lot in this game. So now we're going to go over some prop bets here, Kyle, that I'll start with and go over. A lot of these are priced on the side with the with the Baltimore Ravens for me. J.K. Dobbins, receiving yards, 6.5. Not longest catch. His total receiving yards, 6.5. If I think Lamar Jackson is going to run around and make some plays, that's just a dump off for 2 in the flat where you run for 4 yards and 4 yards. I like that one to hit. Also, the fullback Ricard, reception yards over, not 3.5 catches, 3.5 yards. 1 dump off in the flat. He did it last week with 3 catches. I look for that to happen as well. We're taking a look at Lamar Jackson's rushing total. I have it over 77 yards in this game. In order for this team to win, being the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Kyle, can't run for 35 yards or they're going to get broken up in this game. He has to approach that century mark. So I'm going to take the over 77.5 yards. When I'm taking a look at J.K. Dobbins in the backfield, over 60 yards rushing in this game. Because again, if Dobbins doesn't have a good rushing game, Kyle, they're not going to win this football game or even be competitive. So I need those 2 guys on the ground to dominate. If I'm taking a look from the Buffalo Bills section of this game, Singletary's receiving yards for the game, over 20.5. He's going to need to make plays out of the pocket, being Josh Allen, a dump off or 2, a screen pass to Singletary. He should be able to get that done. And also, my favorite prop bet of this entire day is Josh Allen's passing attempts over 36. They're not running the football. They have to throw to win. He should approach 40 passing attempts in this game. I love that one. That's where I'm going with prop bets today.
Donnie, I love those prop bets. I agree with literally every single one of them. I think those are all on point. I have another 3 pick for this one. Just to pile on your J.K. Dobbins, when I went over 64.5 rushing yards, that's what I had available at the book I was playing. I took that. And you're right. If the Lamar as well, I didn't write that down, but I had it at 82.5. If Dobbins and Lamar don't hit those marks, the Baltimore Ravens do not win this football game because they're not going to win behind the arm of Lamar Jackson. So if the Bills stop the run, this is going to be a long, long, long day for Baltimore. I 100% agree. I also took, it's kind of a weird one. I took Miles Boykin over 9.5 yards receiving. He doesn't play a ton of snaps. He'll be out there, but when they do, he's sort of looking to him on those, RPO plays where he rolls out to the right. All it takes is one catch over 9.5 yards. I do think he gets a catch in this game. So I took Miles Boykin. And the other one I really like is I took Josh Allen over 45.5 yards rushing. I think he's their leading rusher today. I do expect him to keep the ball in his hands a lot. The Baltimore Ravens blitz a ton, but again, Josh Allen been blitzed than more than any quarterback in the league. He knows how to deal with the blitz. What happens when you blitz and you don't get to him? There's a lot of space in front of that quarterback. So I think Josh Allen gets over that 45.5 yards rushing as well.
Yeah, fun stuff. When I take a look at a DFS angle in this game, let me just bring up here quarterback position. Lamar Jackson, 7,600. Josh Allen, 7,400. Of those two quarterbacks, it's hard to bypass Lamar Jackson because at the end of the day, he can throw for 175 yards and break the bank still with, 2 touchdown passes and 90 yards or 100 yards on the ground and another touchdown. But when I look at Josh Allen here, I think I'm getting the total spectrum here because if this game I think is going to go over the total, which I do 49.5, the reason why the Buffalo Bills will be in the 20s is not because they ran the football really well with Devin Singletary. It's because Josh Allen ran for 50 yards and a touchdown. It's because Josh Allen threw for 275 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. So I would actually go Josh Allen, the 7,400 over Lamar Jackson in this game.
Yeah, I actually like them both quite a bit, and it's kind of a tale of two sites for me. On DraftKings, Lamar Jackson's more expensive than Josh Allen by a couple $100, but on FanDuel, he's $800 cheaper. Look, the bottom line is Lamar Jackson, even though Josh Allen has terrific rushing upside, Lamar Jackson has elite rushing upside. These are my two highest owned quarterbacks. I love both quarterbacks on this slate. I lean a little bit more to Lamar Jackson just because of that extra rushing upside. But you can't go wrong with either one. These are the two quarterbacks I would have the most of, and most people will, just so you know. But hey, it doesn't matter. In a 2-game or a 4-game slate, even if it's a little chalky, get those points because it ends up becoming a game of volume points, not necessarily hitting value. Both quarterbacks are in a great spot today.
Take a look at running back position. J.K. Dobbins, one of my favorite running backs on the slate for this weekend, 6,000 even. Devin Singletary, 4,500, which you should have an added bump because Zach Moss, which they usually trade series for series, that's not going to be the case in this one. Gus Edwards, 4,200, good chance that he scores. And also Gus Edwards had an interesting rushing prop as well. It's like 32 or 33 yards for the game, which I thought might have been an interesting one to take as well. Mark Ingram at 4,000. Now, he's, again, going to be a healthy scratch in this game, which I always get. I love the Baltimore Ravens because they don't play any favorites, and the team goes as the team goes. Yep. Usually they'll be like, oh, you got to put me in the game and do this. They know they're better, and they really turned on the gas when they started making him healthy scratches and letting the two young kids run, being J.K. Dobbins and also Gus Edwards. But I do like the fact that they're trying to call it, they're putting a nice smile like, well, salary cap issues, because if he gets hurt, we can't cut him and save the $5 million. This is the NFL playoffs. Teams aren't looking at salary cap for the next year when trying to win a Super Bowl. It's a nice way to say to Mark Ingram, hey, we're not going to embarrass you and say you're old, slow, not as good as the two young guys. We're going to put this out to that. We're not playing you because it's us. It's not you. It's us. We can't afford the $5 million next year, which is total bunk. That's like saying we can't put Lamar Jackson out there because if he gets hurt, then we're going to have to pay him $60 million. So we're going to go with some backup. Ridiculous. Mark Ingram is not as good. That's why he's not playing. That's the reason.
Yeah, I was looking. I was like, "What the hell are they talking about? Salary cap reasons? Is there some qualifier?"
Like if he gets hurt, like Baltimore has to get out of the NFL. Like they can't be an NFL team anymore. It's ridiculous. We can't play a running back because if he gets hurt, we owe him $5 million extra. But what happens if he wins you the game? Doesn't matter. The $5 million is more important.
Yeah, imagine saying that to an Eagles fan who has to figure out what the hell to do with Carson Wentz and the $59 million it goes against if he's not on the team, right? Absolutely ridiculous. But I do agree with it. I love J.K. Dobbins. I have a ton of exposure to J.K. Dobbins. Like if you're back in Baltimore like I am, J.K. Dobbins has got to play well. I like J.K. Dobbins quite a bit. I have a little bit less of Devin Singletary. He's a nice value play at 4,500 and 5.7 on FanDuel. But he's going to be super high owned because of that. And I'm playing tournaments. I'm going for first. I'm not sitting here trying to tie with a bunch of people. So if you want a pain play, and before I give this pain play, we need 2 more thumbs up to get to 100. Come on, people. 315 people in there. Give us a couple more fun thumbs up. I mean, I shouldn't have to ask you this many times.
I shouldn't have to go on my burner accounts right now and pump that up.
Don't make me get on my burner accounts. Don't make me get flash. Give us 2 more thumbs up so we get over 100 for Christ's sake. What the hell is wrong with you people? We're here on Saturday afternoon drinking booze with you. Thank you very much. There we go. We got there. I wasn't going to go to the pain place till we got it.
You shall receive. Yes, there you go.
Damn right. If I'm going to get fired after the show, we're going out in a blaze of glory. Okay, no. So you want some pain plays. Gus Edwards, you mentioned it, but a pain play that I played in my tournaments who's going to be low owned and I think has a chance to outscore Devin Singletary. I played TJ Yeldon at 4,000 DraftKings, 4,700 on FanDuel, is capable out of the backfield. I expect a lot of short passes today out of Josh Allen against that blitz. Devin Singletary, I actually think TJ Yeldon could probably run a little bit better as well. So TJ Yeldon, you're looking for some pain. Took him at 4,000 on DraftKings as well. I'll speed up because I know we're running out of time.
Diggs 7,300, Brown 5,200, Cole Beasley 4,900, John Brown 4,600, Gabriel Davis 4,000, Willie Snead 3,300, and then you got your Boykin boy down there 3,100. And if you really like paying, by the way, Des Bryant's prop on William Hill for reception yards today, Kyle, a half a yard.
Maybe he gets. Isn't that the same thing, Brian?
And you bet that. And I would love if somebody bet that and he catches a slip screen and you loses 1 yard. And they go, what the hell's out here?
Des Bryant, I was like, I thought this guy was quitting. I thought he was going to quit. He couldn't handle the COVID and he was whining and pouting after they were showing the video about how much he's matured and grown into a man. And during that same game, he gets ruled out before the game, right? And says, I can't take it anymore. I'm just going to quit. Just get the fuck out of here. Des Bryant. Yeah, go ahead, take that bet if you want. But yeah, Stephon Diggs, look, it's a tough matchup, of course, against Jimmy Smith or Marcus Peters. The Ravens allowed the 4th fewest fantasy points in the league to opposing wide receivers. Buffalo allowed the 6th fewest. So you're not getting any value. These are 4 of the top 6 passing defenses in the NFL. So it's going to be tough across the board, no matter which way you slice it. That's what you've got this year. That's what you've got today in terms of, but of course, Diggs, John Brown let us down last week, but he's got some big play upside at 4.6. I don't mind that. You mentioned Beasley. If you're looking for some pain plays, Gabriel Davis, Willie Snead, you mentioned at 3,300 against Teron Johnson in the slot. I don't mind that as well. And then, of course, my boy Miles Boykins at 31, but that's a lot of pain. You got to really hate yourself to play that guy.
There you go. Tight end position, Mark Andrews, Dawson Knox, Tomlin. It's 5,000 for Andrews. Knox is 3,100, Tomlinson 2,500, even down to Lee Smith at 2,500. Any pain in this? Or we're just going to say, hey, Mark Andrews probably gives us the best shot to catch a touchdown, or Dawson Knox sneaky at 3,100 on that tab.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the pain play is Dawson Knox, Baltimore 10th against opposing tight ends. So they're good across the board here. Actually kind of interesting with Buffalo. They allow the 7th most fantasy points in the league to opposing tight ends. Mark Andrews could be interesting. And if you want pain, of course, it's Dawson Knox. And again, don't be surprised if he doesn't even receive a single target during the game. Josh Allen loves to do that.
Bills, Ravens, defense 2,900 and 2,800 respectively here. Don't really love either one of these defenses because the good thing about this week in the Millionaire Maker on DraftKings, last week there was a Saturday one and a Sunday one since we had more games. Now you have the whole weekend. I do like some other defenses a little bit better than these two.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, in the Saturday only slate, if you're playing a 2-game slate today like I am, I'm a degenerate, so I got to do all the slates. I have a little bit more upside for the Ravens just because you're going to have more opportunities for sacks and interceptions and sack strip fumbles because the Ravens are going to run the ball far more than Buffalo's going to. If Josh Allen drops back 50, 55 times, which he very well and should do today, you have a lot of opportunities for sacks and those sort of interceptions. So there's more upside for Baltimore if you're choosing between these two defenses.
Well, Kyle. Nice little 1-hour action-packed show I'm watching right now with the Rams and the Packers running out of the tunnel. We're ready to kick off here at 4:35, a doubleheader tonight. Really looking forward to both of these games. Obviously, I like the first one as that appetizer. Don't have a lot going on in this game, but I'm loaded up in that Buffalo and Baltimore Ravens game. Just a quick recap on some plays that we like. I'll take the -7 here with the Green Bay Packers. I'll take the over 49.5 in the Baltimore Ravens and Buffalo Bills game. And then we had a ton of props that you guys can rewind and watch as well. Just a quick recap, Colin, what you like today, side or total wise.
I'm going to take the Rams to cover the spread here. I'm going to take the Rams +7, even 6.5. I will take them at. I will take Baltimore to win outright, take that money line, and I'll take the over 49 in that game as well.
Awesome stuff, guys. We'll be back tomorrow once again at 2 o'clock for Cleveland and Kansas City, getting you guys ready for that. We'll do the same thing again, break down both games, DFS, sides, totals, some prop bets to go over. Thank you guys for watching the channel. We really appreciate it, specifically here on a divisional round action Saturday matchup. And I said again, we will be back tomorrow and do it all over again. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. We are sportsbookreview.com. And this was your divisional round action TV show for Saturday. Good luck, guys, on your wagers. See you tomorrow.